Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Strixhaven draft. Now, today, I went and got my COVID vaccine, so I have slept for. I took like a 3-hour nap after I got home, and we're gonna do some Strixhaven draft. We'll see how it goes. So, quandrix command. Unsummon, annul, 2/1/1 counters, and target. What is that? Memories Journey? I mean, it's a pretty decently powerful rare, and I've been drafting a lot of quandrix lately. Our other option in this pack is to take something like Agonizing Remorse or Field Trip, both of which would be reasonable. I'll try taking the command Blue Sun Zenith. We are in the correct deck. I wanna kill someone with Blue Sun Zenith. Oh, that would be perfect. There's an Overgrown Arch. What am I missing if I take Blue Sun Zenith? Yeah, I'm taking Blue Sun Zenith. Why not, right? Can our first 3 picks be rare? That's the question we're asking right now. Can we take exponential growth? You know, this works if we get the vortex runner, because if you have 8 lands, what is that? 3, 3, and 2 makes 8. You just double vortex runners power and tough or power 3 times. All right, this is the rare stipulation. Not really, not really. Somebody actually had a pretty good stipulation that you have to take all of the mystical archive cards you can. I think that would be a really, really fun deck. I think if I ever open Cody as my first rare, I might try that. If I remember is the thing. So let's see. In this pack, what do we got? So we're in Quandrix. I don't like Resculpt. That means we need to take Snakeskin Veil, Expanded Anatomy, or Moldering Karok. Snakeskin Veil, by far, is one of the craziest combat tricks in this format because there's a lot of really high power removal, and just nullifying it for 1 mana, and with being in Quandrix where 1/1 counter synergy matters, is really good. If there were no green cards in this pack, I would take Expanded Anatomy, but I'm going to go with Snakeskin Veil. I'm already running into the problem that I have like every single time I draft Quandrix, which is I have no creatures yet. It's same problem I always have. All right. So Leyline Invocation is technically a creature. Academic Probation is an interesting concept for a sorcery. So you can either, what is that, Conjurer's Ban or Detain like a permanent. I'm not sure it's playable unless there's a combo deck that you can snipe 1 card in whatever format, you know. So probably standard, because Learn's not really modern playable, outside of some weird edge cases. I'm glad that the 1-mana red Learn spell has to target a creature, because otherwise this would be another haggle. If it didn't have to target a creature, because Learn's alternate mode other than tutor is discard and then draw. So we're going to take Leyline Invocation. If we can get a bunch of the serpentine curves and stuff like that, we'll have like an almost creatureless deck that'll be pretty sweet. I'm going to take Eureka Moment because I love this card. Ramp and Draw it's one of my favorite, even though it's like been way, way played out. The fact that you can do this in Limited is pretty sick. Intro to Annihilation is not a bad sideboard lesson to tutor, but going to take the card in our colors at the moment. Honestly, I am really not above taking Rise of Extus and splashing for it. This card is so crazy powerful because even if your opponent Snakeskin Veils, you still get to learn. The alternative is, of course, to take Pop Quiz, which is another draw spell. It is a learn spell, and it is in our colors. We have no removal yet other than the unsummon off of Quandrix command, and we have no creatures. I'm going to take the Pop Quiz. I think I have to take cards that are actually in my colors first. Culmination of Studies. This is almost strictly it has to be played in the red-blue deck, even though we have a lot of blue cards. I think I'm going to take Elemental Summoning. Having a lesson here is fine. It is technically a creature, even though we have no creatures. Mentor's Guidance, this is a great spell. I'm not going to take Reckless Amplimancer. Containment Breach is a consideration. Burog Befuddler is also just worse than Mentor's Guidance. This card is better than Divination for the low cost of basically having a creature in this format, so it's pretty good. It also shows me that like no one's in blue. So this is a Manolith that produces colorless, except it can kill you. Whenever creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent. Oh, no, it can't kill you. It can only kill your opponent. Do I take the colorless mana rock? I'm going to take Arcane Subtraction. I have no 2-drops. If I have, like, no creatures either, otherwise that may have actually been a consideration. Pillar Drop Warden. Red is the tertiary color we would play if we were playing a third color. I really don't think Resculpt is playable, so I will take the red cards. The alternative is, like, we could potentially play black as well. So, like, Moldering Karok is potentially what we could play here. And having Lifelink is quite good. I'm going to put it in the sideboard. You never know. If black ends up being open, which doesn't look like it, but if it does, we could always get... would I rather have the Edict or the Combat Trick? I think the Combat Trick, potentially. And a Revitalize. But, like, if I start getting past a bunch of black cards and, like, Rise of Extus and stuff like that, yeah, no, I'll play it. The Dean of Chaos and Dean of Order. I wish I was in Lorehold colors for that. I think I'll be taking Aether Helix here. Bouncing a permanent and then getting a permanent from your grave. We don't actually have that many permanents. Although I'm pretty sure this makes a loop with Biblioplex Assistant. Eliminate's not bad. I kind of want to stay out of a third color unless I start getting crazy fixing and stuff like that, though. So, we'll take Aether Helix. Devastating Mastery. I don't think I can play that. Golden Ratio is not really what we can play either. Stone Rain was strangely effective against us when it was cast in Limited. I want to take Leyline of Invocation. I also want to take more Lessons. Vortex Runner is not bad either. How much ramp do we actually have? Just Eureka Moment. I think I'm going to take the Leyline Invocation over Vortex Runner. Frostboil Snarl. This could open up red to us if we wanted it. There's Cram Session, which is another learn spell. So for Lessons, we do have Elemental Summoning, and that's about it. So I think I'm going to take this other Elemental Summoning because I do have at least 2 learn spells right now. Yeah, I'm going to take the other Lesson here. Put it in the side. So Expressive Iteration, it really isn't bad. It can help you make land drops in addition to just drawing you cards. But I think I'm going to keep taking these Elemental Summonings because I like them as Lessons. If we get a couple more learn cards, they'll be really good. Krosan Grip, I don't think is playable. It probably is. It's probably a great sideboard card, but there's actual cards in this pack we would play. Needlethorn Drake is really good, but we have no fight spells, and that's not a mode on Quandrix command. I think I'm going to take Field Trip because I do have 2 Leyline Invocations and a Blue Sun Zenith over Needlethorn Drake. Okay, so in this pack we have some red cards, Charge Through, which can help us cycle, trigger Magecraft, although we have none. I think I take the Pledge Mage because we're going to need some stuff to help stabilize, and having no effective blockers at this point is probably pretty bad. This gains us life, and is just like a 5-mana 5/5, which is a pretty decent body in this format. Letter of Acceptance is also not a bad idea, but we'll take Pledge Mage for now. Dark Ritual helps us cast nothing, except maybe Blue Sun Zenith. I think I take Burog Befuddler. We're not going to be aggro enough for Symmetry. No, I need to take Soothsayer Adept. The looting effect on this guy is actually deceptively good, and he blocks a lot of early game threats. Damogoth Woe Eater. Yeah, we're not going to be playing any black. We'll take the Soothsayer Adept. We really have to focus on taking some creatures at this point. Fortifying Draft. We don't have a big life gain spell. We just potentially gain a lot of life off of Witherbloom Pledge Mage, of which I'm going to take a second one. I don't think we take Curate here, although Curate wouldn't be a bad card. We just need more guys. And creatures that help us stabilize are quite good. So, like, if we ended up getting a bunch of black-green hybrid cards, like if we got the... what is the other one? Not the rare. I think there's another hybrid, isn't there? Other than the Quadra Green 1110? Or Quadra Black-Green Hybrid 1110, I mean. Professor's Warning, Blood Researcher. Blood Researcher's not bad. We do have 2 repeatable sources of life gain. The other option is Letter of Acceptance, which would also help us if we were going to play 3 colors. I'll take the Letter of Acceptance because we have several very expensive spells. I do not... Yeah, we're not going to play Stone Rain. Devastating Mastery is pretty good. Like, we ran into that card and got obliterated by it, but I'm going to take Vortex Runner. Spined Karok, I think, is just marginally worse. We are technically playing a ramp deck, and it is like a 2-card kill combo with Exponential Growth. And in theory, enough mana to double enough times. I'll take Cram Session. That helps delay, tutors out one of our elemental summonings, of which we have 3. Team Pennant actually is playable because we have a lot of token creatures between our big Leyline Invocations and our 4/4s we get out of the sideboard. I think this card might actually be good in this deck. Krosan Grip or Kogwar Archivist. A 6-mana 4/5 with reach. We have enough top end. I think I'm just going to take this for the sideboard. Charge Through coming all the way around is nice. Symmetry Sage, probably not playing it, but we could if we had to. Alright, pack number 3. Strick Proctor. Is that worth anything? No. So Return Past Caller is very good because it can loop itself. Taking Expanded Anatomy is not bad because we can put 2 1/1 counters and we kind of synergize with 1/1 counters. We really need to take creatures. So that means like another Leyline Invocation. Actually, I'm going to take Serpentine Curve. It's kind of like a mini Leyline Invocation, but instead of counting lands, it counts instants and sorceries, of which we have a lot. Professor of Zoomancy or Witherbloom Pledge Mage number 3. Serpentine Curve is on average, I think, going to be bigger than Professor is. So I'm going to take the curve here. Vine Glimmer Snarl. Teferi's Protection is kind of hilarious, as it's effectively a mono-white extra turn spell. Honor Troll. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1, and it becomes a 4/4 for 3 if you have 25 or more life. I took Honor Troll. I did not mean to do that, but apparently Moto's in that weird... I wanted to evaluate cards in that pack more, but okay. I will take the one-sided fight spell despite our relative lack of creatures, because we do have some good token creatures, and this card is quite good. I'm glad they've started adding one-sided removal to green, and that it's not been broken. So Decisive Denial is a very good modal spell, being a Mana Leak crossed with a negate, or a instant speed fight spell, a Pit Fight. Solve the Equation could be kind of funny, because we could actually go tutor up our very powerful instants and sorceries, but I don't think tutors are going to be playable in Limited, because we're going to have a hard time stalling the board anyway. So I'll take Decisive Denial. The Biblioplex. The last time this went all the way around, nobody took it. We have a lot of instants and sorceries, and not that many creatures. So if this card is ever going to work in Limited, it's going to work in this deck. The problem is you have to be Hellbent, or you have to have 7 cards in hand to activate it. I am passing out on a good creature to synergize our fight spells we just got with. Cram Session and Introduction to Prophecy. I think I have to take the Needlethorn Drake. Okay, Expanded Anatomy or Springmane Servan. We do have a reasonable amount of cards right now. Like a reasonable amount of playables. I have 26. We have a lot of life gain, kind of a life gain sub-theme. So I'm going to take the Servan. Fortifying Draft is strong, especially with, like, I guess, Honor Troll and our Witherbloom Pledge Mages, but... Cultivate. Cultivate is the kind of spell I want in this deck, because if we have so much top end, this is effectively just a double ramp spell. I mean, it's a Lay of the Land plus Rampant Growth, effectively. We're missing out on a Fractal Summoning to take it, though, which kind of sucks, but Cultivate is just too strong for me to ignore. Another Eureka moment. We're not 3 colors, so we don't need Archway Commons. Strategic Planning I do not like in this format. Leyline Invocation came all the way around, which now we have quite a bit of ramp, so I'm actually kind of fine taking this. It's like our Leyline Invocations synergize with like our Biblioplex Assistant and stuff. Excavated Wall we can bring in versus aggro. Amplimancer or a Tangle Trap. Yeah, I guess I take the Bear here. I'll put Resculpt in the side. I don't like Resculpt in this format. Oh, this guy also has Vigilance. I didn't know that. Yeah, Novice Dissector, that's fine in the side. Professor's Warning in the side. And Spine Karok. Alright. Okay. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. So these are actually creatures, as is this. And we have 3 elemental summonings, which means we need to keep a lot of learn spells in the deck. Unfortunately, that is the only lesson we have to learn, because I kept taking other cards over it. And we need to cut 9 cards. We definitely need 17 lands at a minimum. Now, this Blue Sun Zenith is a pretty incredible card. The problem is it's triple blue. I guess our mana requirements aren't actually that bad. If you look, like, everything requires single green with the exception of Witherbloom Pledge Mage, which requires 2 green, and Exponential Growth, which is all top-end stuff. If that's the case, I think we're fine. So Team Pennant I like with Leyline Invocation, Serpentine Curve. We make some pretty big creature tokens. We can also just equip regular creatures for slightly more mana. Pop Quiz is good. Arcane Subtraction, Cram Session, 1, 2, 3, 4 learn spells. So I can cut a learn spell. I'll cut Arcane Subtraction. Cram Session Gaining Life I think is a little bit better than the Combat Trick, but only slightly. We may not need Charge Through to grant Trample and draw. We don't have that much Magecraft that's like really good to turn on. Witherbloom Pledge Mage is more of an incidental thing than a build around, at least in the Quandrix deck. Like, there's a lot of like drain shenanigans you can do with the Witherbloom deck. So yeah, I'm gonna cut Charge Through. Snakeskin Veil I'm gonna keep. We have big dudes and we want to protect them. So Planeswalker, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard. Basically every spellcaster class, which every human creature we have, as well as our Witherbloom Pledge Mages counts as. This might actually be worse than Pop Quiz and our other spells here. And we have Blue Sun Zenith, so maybe we don't need that much card advantage over our regular ramp. This can actually prevent us from decking, even. We can just triple blue 0, put it back in the deck. I'm gonna drop the Karok. I think it's our worst creature, because we only have, what is that, 3, 6, 8, 10, 13 creatures? Okay. This is gonna be an interesting deck, that's for sure. I don't think I need Letter of Acceptance. I'm not 3 colors. It is ramp, it is good fixing. The problem is the rest of our ramp, we kind of want to be a land ramp, and we kind of want to play a land even in this card's place. Man, I still need to cut 5 cards. Okay, I'm going to cut the Amplimancer. I think I cut Mentor's Guidance. But the card's really good. I just don't know if it's good in this deck. Exponential Growth is really funny with Vortex Runner. It's also decent with a flyer like a Biblioplex Assistant. And if we do have a large Leyline Invocation with like a Pennant equipped for Trample, it's definitely going to end the game. You know, I think I'm fine cutting more creatures because our learn spells all get 5 mana creatures. The question is, if I was cutting a creature, which creature would I cut? And the answer, I think, is Springmane, Servant, or Biblioplex Assistant, but buying back one of our very powerful spells is probably where we want to be. Servant's nice because it gains life, it has a relevant power rating, and we have several fight spells that it's good with. So I'm actually playing 12 creatures, and then I need to cut at least 1 non-creature and run 17 land, but in reality I probably need to cut 2 non-creature spells and run 18. I think because I'm not running that many creatures early, I actually should probably get rid of Decisive Denial. The counterspell mode on it matters a lot, but the fight isn't going to be easily attainable with the creatures we got going on here. And I think I'm okay running 41 cards and 17 land. So I think 7 islands. No, we need more islands because we do have a triple blue card. So probably 8 and 9 is reasonable. And we have options if we need to sideboard against a particular thing. So, all right, I think we got ourselves a good deck. See you guys in round 1. All right, we're on the play for round 1, and this hand is unfortunately not keepable because it has no lands. This hand is a maybe. I mean, we get a 3rd land, we get to Field Trip, which will take us to 4, and that gets us close to Witherbloom Pledge Mage. I think I will keep this hand, and I probably should put back Exponential Growth. But we have a big creature, and we can give it Trample. So I think the long-term game plan of how I'm going to win is by Exponential Growth. So hopefully that pans out for us. Opponent leads on Frostboil Snarl. Draw a forest, play a forest, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a forest. Emergent Sequence. This is a card that everybody but me drafts, apparently, just because I never find it. We untap, draw another forest. Field Trip. Cat's out of the bag now, because we're going to have to get a blue lesson past the turn. And we have no blue lands, and Field Trip doesn't fix, unlike Cultivate, which would. Opponent casts Eureka Moment, putting another Frostboil Snarl into play. We untap and draw a Serpentine Curve. Play Witherbloom Pledge Mage, pass the turn. They play Needlethorn Drake and Growth Spiral. They got a really good ramp deck. They play Kelpie Guide, which is kind of an issue. We untap and draw Cultivate. Well, cast Cultivate. Gain some life. Get Island and Island. Put one onto the battlefield, the other in her hand. Play out the island. And equip the Pledge Mage. It has Vigilance. Nice. Pass the turn. So they can't tap permanents until they have 8 or more lands, which they're going to have this turn if they get a land somehow. 5 mana. What are they playing? Practical Research. So they draw 4 cards, then discard 2 cards unless they discard an instant or sorcery. I think they're trying to get up to their 8th land for Kelpie Guide. Problem is, I got rid of our fight spell. I did shuffle, so it's not unreasonable for me to draw the fight spell. Okay, we untap, draw an island, play elemental summoning, gain 1 life. Problem is that guide completely invalidates the game plan I was going for. Pass the turn. So we need to draw a way to deal with that guide. Or, if my opponent uses it to clear the way and attack, they're just going to die if they don't have instant speed removal and we get off this exponential growth. Because we are going to make a creature enormous this way. Practical Research again. They discard 2 forests. They play an island. They play Rutha, excuse me. We untap, draw an island, play the island, go to combat. Okay, opponent taps. I'm going to attack with this because I need to get rid of the Death Touch creature, I think. So they are willing to trade. We gain life, make another 4/4, equip the creature token, pass the turn. Now we have 2 5/5s. Opponent plays a land. We actually, against this opponent, might be able to Blue Sun them to death. They're going to copy Serpentine Curve, which is pretty good. Now they have 2 6/6s. So they replay Rutha. We untap. Draw another Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Play him. They tap our token. Go to second main. We'll equip the Pledge Mage. Pass the turn. I want them to tap our 6/6 and then get in for a big swing, because little do they know they actually die if that happens. Oh gosh, okay, never mind. They're gonna fight everything. They should hopefully feel safe enough after killing these 2, they just swing out with everything, including the Kelpie Guide. Although it's free to leave this guy back to tap. It's 14, 21... Oh no, never mind, we're just dead. That is unfortunate. Yeah, nothing we can do about that. They replay Rutha. And tap and draw Honor Troll. So we'll go ahead and concede. That's unfortunate. The Kelpie Guide basically prevented us from winning because I put back the fight spell. We would have won otherwise. Kind of sucks. So I guess I'll bring in Decisive Denial. I probably need that card anyway. Question is, what do I drop for it? I'm going to get rid of... I want to say Pop Quiz, but I'm not sure if that's correct. It's probably Cram Session. Try it like this. Now we only have 2 learn cards, but we only have 1 lesson to learn anyway. I would like to play first. This hand is pretty decent. We'll keep. Depending on how this goes, we could maximum reload with Blue Sun Zenith. That probably ends up that this is just like a 6 mana concentrate, but we draw Serpentine Curve, play Soothsayer Adept, pass the turn. Opponent plays an island, passes. We draw Honor Troll, go to combat. I probably should loot with Soothsayer to try and get to 4 mana, but I also have a feeling like I need to play out this troll. I think we gotta loot. We need to hit 4 mana, or we're gonna be in trouble. And the troll is probably what I have to discard. I mean, I could discard Leyline Invocation, but... yeah, we're getting rid of the troll. Untap. Draw Cultivate. Play Forest. Cultivate. Okay, opponent Memory Lapses, putting Cultivate on top of our deck. Pass the turn. Memory Lapse is a pretty mean counterspell, but it's not the end of the world. It's effectively the same tempo as Remand, except it's better than Remand in that if you do counter a spell with it, your opponent can't just immediately recast it. It does deny them a draw rather than grant you one. Okay. So we Cultivate. We get an island and a forest. We put the island into play tapped, then play the forest. Pass the turn. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks for 4. This is fine. We take 4. I am going to end up looting here, because even if I have to discard an instant or sorcery, it makes Serpentine Curve bigger. Yeah, we'll get rid of this forest. We don't need that many lands, I don't think. Okay, opponent casts Practical Research. They were worried about a counterspell. This does mean that we will be able to cast our Leyline Invocation. Get a big token, which is nice. If I draw a land, I could risk casting Eureka Moment and drawing another land, but I just looted away a forest, so I'm not sure how likely that is with 6 lands on the table already. And then play Serpentine Curve. That would be a slightly more efficient usage of mana. It would also get us deeper to cast something like Blue Sun Zenith. We untap, draw an island. So do we Eureka Moment? Do we Blue Sun? I don't think I'm going to Blue Sun, because it's not a card my opponent will expect me to have. I think we just play an island and Leyline Invocation. And we're going to play like we got a Snakeskin Veil, because we do have one in the deck. Pass the turn. Next turn, the odds of us having an additional land for Eureka Moment is much higher. Opponent plays Kelpie Guide, like a jerk, then plays Rutha. We untap and draw Needlethorn Drake. So let's Eureka Moment. Put an island into play. Go to combat. Attack for 7. Opponent chumps with a pest, that's reasonable. They gain 1. We have 1, 2, 3 instants and sorceries. So we can either play Needlethorn Drake, hold up Snakeskin Veil, or we can play Serpentine Curve. I think let's play the Needlethorn Drake. Pass the turn. If my opponent casts a really powerful spell that targets, we can Veil to get around it. We can also Veil to stop a Kelpie Guide activation, but that almost seems like a waste. They attack us for 4. I think I will offer the trade here. Okay. They play Frostboil Snarl. Opponent's got some kind of trickery going on here. 3 mana. Emergent Sequence. They're going to clone it. That's pretty good considering all of the lands they've had enter the battlefield this turn. I'm going to loot. Get rid of the land. We untap. Draw an island. Play an island. We can hit them for 7 this turn by casting Snakeskin Veil. I'm going to probably cast Serpentine Curve. If I cast Snakeskin Veil first, that makes Serpentine Curve creature a 4/4. I don't think it's worth casting Snakeskin Veil, actually. Blue Sun. We can Blue Sun for 6. I think I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait and Blue Sun. Opponent untaps. They play Letter of Acceptance. They play Rutha. They play Field Trip. Sure. Getting a land. They get Fractal Summoning. Alright. Well, we know they're not attacking with the Kelpie Guide. Alright, time for maximum draw power. Blue Sun X6. We get Quandrix Command. Untap. We draw Team Pennant. So... play a land, play Team Pennant, equip here, go to combat, opponent attempts to tap, we Snakeskin Veil, attack for 9, and I'm gonna bounce, no, actually I'm not gonna do that. We hit them for 9, then we play Biblioplex Assistant, putting Snakeskin Veil on top of our deck, and looting into it. Okay, pass the turn. I think that worked out quite well. Snakeskin Veil once again carrying this team. The other option was trying to unsummon Kelpie Guide with Quandrix Command, but I don't want to show my opponent a rare combat trick unless I have to. And if my opponent just dumps all their mana into Fractal Summoning to have something to block with, or Leyline Invocation as an example, I can Quandrix Command to unsummon one of the gigantic tokens, especially if they double block. I get a 10/10, and another 10/10. Then opponent replays Rutha. I mean, if I just draw Exponential Growth, they are toast. Okay. We untap. Draw Aether Helix. Do we have any good permanents to pick up out of our grave? Needlethorn Drake. So, play a forest. Aether Helix. Bounce the Fractal. Get back the Drake. Then we go to combat. Opponent's going to tap our Biblioplex Assistant. Sure. We attack with the Fractal. Then we Snakeskin Veil and return creature Planeswalker. We bounce the Fractal, put 2/1 counters here, and hit them for exactly 12. Yay, Trample! Nice! That was sick. Snakeskin Veil? So good. Alright, yeah, run it back for game 3. I want to get him with the Exponential Growth, but that stupid Kelpie guide. Hand is great, we're keeping. Alright, opponent starts Forest, passes. We draw Decisive Denial, play Forest, pass the turn. We have Needlethorn Drake plus Decisive Denial, so we can fight anything we deem to be a problem. Opponent leads on Cram Session, getting Environmental Sciences. We untap, play an island, play the Drake, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They probably are casting Environmental Science this turn, maybe to get a mountain. Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. We untap, draw Devouring Tendrils, even better. That's a one-sided fight spell. Go to combat, attack for 1. If they've got a shock, they might try and do it during combat, in which case we would need a Decisive Denial. Then we're going to Field Trip. I do want another island, but I can do nothing about that right now. Get an Elemental Summoning, pass the turn. Next turn, I can Devouring Tendrils with Decisive Denial backup. Opponent plays Rutha. We untap, draw Honor Troll, play a Forest. So the only combat trick my opponent could have that I would have to worry about is Snakeskin Veil. I could play Honor Troll first and Devouring Tendrils to gain 3 life instead of 2. That strikes me as slightly greedy, just for 1 extra life, when we could perfectly protect from that with Decisive Denial. Okay, so they didn't have it. We can play Honor Troll this turn, go to combat, get in for 1. And we got rid of their very powerful spell cloning ability that's repeatable, at least in Limited. They untap, they're at 24, they play a land, Field Trip, so they get another Forest tapped, and they get to learn. It's probably going to be Fractal Summoning, yep. Then they play Scurrid Colony, we untap, draw Quandrix Command. I think we pop Quiz here, because we need to find another island. We did not. Go to combat, attack for 2, because it has Vigilance. So that attack was free. So if my opponent just dumps all their mana into a Fractal Summoning, Quandrix Command can act as a kill spell. They play Kelpie Guide. We untap. Draw another Forest. Okay. Play Forest. Play Biblioplex Assistant. And we'll put Devouring Tendrils on top of our deck. The one-sided fight spell is just so good. It will also gain us up to 25 life, which would be enough to buff the Honor Troll. We have Decisive Denial if anything crazy happens. I don't want to attack with the Needlethorn Drake because Scurrid Colony has reach. I don't want to attack with Honor Troll because they could, in theory, double block. So, just pass. I feel pretty safe right now having the negate Mana Leak combo kind of thing going on here. Because if my opponent plays an expensive removal spell, I can deal with it. Alright, they are ramping. If this is just Fractal Summoning, I may counter it. No, I'm not going to. The unsummon is better. Alright, you can have your 5/5. We untap. Draw Devouring Tendrils. So have the Drake kill the Kelpie, because that card is such a massive pain. We gain 3, buff Honor Troll. Then we bounce the Fractal. 2 1/1 counters. I'm tempted to put it on the Troll because it has Vigilance, but if I put it on the Biblioplex Assistant, I can just start attacking with everything. I'm going to put it on the Biblioplex Assistant. Go to combat. Swing out. By attacking with Needlethorn Drake here and letting them trade there, I'm giving up on Decisive Denial being a guaranteed kill spell. Okay. Opponent no blocks. That tells me that they might think that they're close to 8 lands, at which point they'll want to trade with something like the Honor Troll. They make a 7/7. We untap and draw an island. Play an island. Fight here. Go to combat. Attack for 8. Now if my opponent doesn't chump, they're going to 5. And we're making another creature. Play Serpentine Curve, which now should be fairly decent sized. It's a 6/6. Opponent untaps. And like we still have 2 elemental summonings, and the only reason we haven't played them sooner is because we didn't have the second island. So opponent's got to have something pretty good to get out of this, and it doesn't look like they do. So if they have like land and another Skurrid colony, they can survive and go to 1. They discard Forest, Letter of Acceptance, play an island. Skurrid colony is now a 4/4 with reach. They kill the Honor Troll with Mage Duel. So they can chump and take 4, because they did have removal. We draw Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Go to combat. We are going to double attack here and offer the trade, because they would have to have an unsummoned spell if they were going to block the Biblioplex Assistant. Okay. Hit them down to 1. And we're going to play out Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Pass the turn. Opponent has... Was that Mana Leak? Memory Lapse. They put it on top of our deck. That's fine. They still have to have a really good turn to get out of this. Like, they have to actually answer everything on board. They can't just chump, because they're running out of resources, and we're not. Eureka Moment. And they got nothing, so we win the match. After how game 1 went, I'm not sure that we were favored, but I'm glad to see that this deck works, at least in the pseudo-mirror. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we're on the draw for round 2, and a single land gets us to basically everything we want to do, so I'm going to keep this. Opponent leads on Shine Shadow Snarl, revealing a swamp. We untap, draw Pop Quiz, play a forest, pass the turn. Opponent plays a swamp, passes. We draw a forest, play a forest, pass the turn. So now we can even play Honor Troll first, and then cultivate if we want. Opponent plays Plains, does nothing. I suspect they're holding a lot of the 4-mana Death Touch guys. Just if I had to guess. That's what I would say. We'll play Honor Troll. Pass the turn. We did not get Mana Tithed, so there's that. Opponent untaps. They play a land. We draw. Island. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent goes down to 18. Play an island. And let's cultivate. We'll get an island and a forest. Putting an island into play tapped. If I had had another forest in hand or sequenced my lands differently, I think was the real problem. I could have Eureka Momented to surprise them with a Snakeskin Veil, but opponent's got nothing. That's kind of interesting. We draw Biblioplex Assistant, play an island, go to combat. We will attack for 2. No blocks by the opponent. I think I'm going to Eureka Moment and Pop Quiz this turn, unless I have the Snakeskin Veil for some reason. I was kind of tempted to Aether Helix their Shine Shadow Snarl, but I think it's better to actually hit a permanent that costs mana. So they play Owlin Shield Mage, which is just a 3/3 flyer with Ward. So Eureka Moment, put in Forest, Pop Quiz, learn Elemental Summoning, untap, draw Forest. I don't have anything to pick up with Aether Helix, which is my only hesitation there. Play Forest, go to combat. I think I'm fine trading off Snakeskin Veil to kill this. Alright. They take it. Make an 8/8. Pass the turn. They untap. Play a land. I guess I'm glad they didn't take the trade because they probably have Rise of Extus. And using Snakeskin Veil to defend against that is way better than my previous plan. Wow. Psychic. Snakeskin Veil. They get rid of Leyline Invocation, so we can't put that back on top with Biblioplex Assistant. But we do get to keep our 9/9, and that's fairly important, I'd say. They still get to learn, though. They get reduced to memory, so they can use that to turn our 9/9 into a 3/2. We untap. Draw Forest. Play a Forest. Oh, I can't actually cast this without a permanent in my grave. Alright. Go to combat. Attack for 9. Opponent takes 9 and goes to 5. Play Elemental Summoning. And I'm going to wait on playing anything else, I think. No, Biblioplex Assistant is fine here. I am going to put Eureka Moment on top of my deck. Snakeskin Veil is tempting, but... the only other thing I'd be concerned about is if my opponent has the Wrath, the Rare Wrath, or I guess the black or the white one at this point. But we'll be drawing extra cards. We would be able to cast Aether Helix at that point. So they get rid of our 9/9, turn it into a 3/2. So thankfully no Day of Judgment, or Devastating Mastery, or the backside of Selfless Glyphweaver that I can't think of the name of right now. Guiding Voice. They turn their Shield Mage into a 4/4. Get Inkling Summoning. But even if they played that, they're still dead. They have to have something else too. Okay, they have a lot of Lash of Malices. But we have Aether Helix, so they're dead. Oh man, opponent was holding a whole bunch of removal and tricks, but nice. Decisive Denial over Cram Session's probably where I should be. That probably should be the default configuration of this deck. I was really worried about the lack of creatures, but honestly, I don't think I need to be. This seems okay. We need to draw lands, though, for this to work. If we don't get green, we're screwed. I think actually that means I need to mulligan. Alright, let's do this. The old 5 lands, Eureka. Opponent, Shine, Shadow, Snarl, Revealing Plains. We untap. Draw a field trip, play Forest. Pass the turn. Opponent plays the Plains. They did not misplay their lands and reveal information. Play an island. Pass the turn. We're going to keep playing out islands because we just drew Blue Sun Zenith. If my opponent has another ultra slow hand and we can just ramp and then reload, like, they're going to be sad. They play Killian and Guiding Voice him. This is actually quite scary. If they had the, like, 2/1/1 counters and Vigilance going tall, that would be really scary. So field trip, get a forest, learn the only lesson we can, pass the turn. He has Menace, so it's not like we can block him anytime soon. We can't even really race him at the moment because he'll be gaining a lot of life. Is my opponent just playing the summoning? They are. They hit us for 3. We untap. Draw Witherbloom Pledge Mage. So I think we're going to play the Pledge Mage because it's a large body. It technically offsets the damage a little bit. We threaten to swing back huge. It doesn't die to their Lash of Malices unless they have 3 of them. And we can start gaining life. Well, I already said that in a different way. Now I'm just being repetitive. They hit us for 5. No blocks. We take 5. Go to 12. They go to 26. Then they play Leech Fanatic. We untap, draw Forest. Play Forest. Cast Elemental Summoning, gain a life. And I'm going to attack them for 5. They probably can't attack with the Leech Fanatic unless they have removal. And it would not be outrageous for them to double Lash to kill this 4/4. Okay, Rise of Extus. This is so they can get a bigger lifelink swing in. Killian reducing the cost of Rise of Extus is one of the strongest things you can do in this format. Change my mind. They get reduced to memory. So they're going to swing 7. We're going to go to 6. They gain a bunch of life. We untap. Draw an island. Eureka moment. Gain life. Draw 2. Play an island. Play Vortex Runner. Pass the turn. No attacks. I think we got to be on defense this turn. If they reduce to memory to kill Pledge Mage and we draw Exponential Growth, they die. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Man, wouldn't that be something? I don't know if they're actually dead. But it would be pretty close. Because it would be doubled 3 times. They start at 3, that'd be 6, then 12. Yeah, they'd be... No, actually, they wouldn't die. They'd only be 24 damage. We wouldn't even survive the backswing, so we might actually just be dead. Opponent is busy doing combat math. Okay, they get rid of our big guy and life gain source. Then they Lash of Malice to kill him. They go to combat. They attack us for 5, leaving back Leech Fanatic. They gain 3 and go to 29. Trying to think of what we can do to get out of this. Actually, if they have another Lash, they can Lash Killian and we die. They do. Nice, good plays, opponent. We would have drawn Quandrix Command. I don't think that would have mattered. Okay, run it back. Yeah, opponent had a pretty well accelerated hand there. I will play first. I will keep this hand. Lead on Forest, pass the turn. Shine, Shadow, Snarl. Opponent plays Swamp into Team Pennant. We untap, draw an island. Play Needlethorn Drake. I fully expect this to get lashed. They untap. They draw Swamp. They pass. We untap. Draw an island. Play a forest. Go to combat. Attack for 1. They take 1. And we pass. Opponent untaps. They play a Plains. They play Killian. Then they pass. We untap. draw a forest, play an island, go to combat, attack for 1. Opponent takes 1. We pass, because we want to respond to a Lash, basically. Or we want to respond to Rise of Extus. Because if my opponent Rise of Extus, with us having no cards in the graveyard, we can actually counter it by fighting, which would be sweet. Because then they can't even learn. Opponent goes to combat, and they attack for 2. Sure, take 2. They gain 2. Do something. Umbral Juke. They're going to make a 2-1 with flying. The problem is, I know they have Lash, and this is not going to work out well for me. We're going to fight here. If they have Lash, it's a complete blowout. They didn't have Lash, thankfully. Opponent does still get a 2-1 flyer, though. And they equip the team pennant. We untap. Draw an island. If I play out Biblioplex Assistant, I don't want to put the fight spell back, because I want to draw cards that aren't that. But I think I have to play it. We're going to choose no targets. Opponent plays a swamp into a tenured ink caster, putting a 1/1 counter on the Inkling. Pennant giving trample and vigilance is quite powerful. We lose a life, they gain a life. We take 4. Untap. We draw Soothsayer Adept. It can potentially help us get through our deck faster, provided it doesn't die, of course. We might be able to block the tenured ink caster with it as well. Opponent goes to combat, hits us for 5, gains 1. We go down to 8. They play Leech Fanatic. They only have 2 cards left. We gotta find something, and soon. We draw Pop Quiz. So Pop Quiz, we draw Blue Sun, get Elemental Summoning, pass the turn. I might have to pitch Blue Sun here. Opponent untaps. Rise of Extus. That's pretty bad. They get Expanded Anatomy. Thankfully they don't have Killian anymore. They could just play it and kill us. Opponent goes to combat. Swings with the team. If they have Nightmare Lash, we're also dead. Block here. Go to 1. We would need a very good sequence of cards here. Field Trip doesn't do it. We untap. Draw Eureka Moment. I have 7 mana, which means I can play Elemental Summoning and die to the Inkling. If I loot, I think I have to cast Eureka Moment as my best chance of actually drawing something that could make a difference here. Alright. That is unfortunate. And opponent wins the match. I'll see you guys in round 3. Alrighty, round 3, we will be on the play. No green mana, but we do have a Cultivate in this opener. Or no blue mana, excuse me. We do have a Cultivate. We just need to draw a 3rd land of any kind, and we should have all the lands we need for a good long while. So lead on Forest, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a mountain, and passes. We untap, draw an island, perfect. Play an island, play Needlethorn Drake, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Plains, and plays a Blood Age General. We untap, draw Cram Session, play Forest, and let's cultivate, getting Island and Island. Putting an island into play, and obviously one in the hand. Pass the turn. We'll stay back on defense. I'm not opposed to just having Needlethorn Drake be a speed bump here. It's useful to have this card in the grave somewhat, because we do have Aether Helix, so we could just pick it up later. The concern is that my opponent has like a Make Your Mark or a First Strike combat trick, but we'll trade. Next turn we get to play Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Opponent plays a Stonebound Mentor. We untap, draw Serpentine Curve, play an island, play the Pledge Mage, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a Mountain, goes to combat, attacks for 3. I'm not going to block here. Losing our Witherbloom Pledge Mage would be too dangerous. Opponent could just be trying to get in some cheeky damage, but we do have a pretty good turn next turn if we draw a land, casting Cram Session and then Serpentine Curve. Or even just waiting on Serpentine Curve and playing like Biblioplex Assistant, picking up Cultivate again. Because a flyer plus a big exponential growth is a definite way to win. We draw Team Pennant, go to combat, attack for 5. I could have played an equipped team pennant to give this guy vigilance if my opponent has an expel, but I don't think they were playing like they had an expel. Gain a life, gain 4 life, get elemental summoning, play team pennant, pass the turn. We can't equip, we're 1 mana short. We're pretty close to the exponential growth kill. So there's that. Opponent plays a plains. They hit us for 3. We go to 19. Then they play an Ardent Dust Speaker. We untap, draw land, play a forest, play elemental summoning, gain 1, make a 4/4, go to combat, attack for 5, no blocks by the opponent. They go to 10, equip team pennant, and I think we're just going to go for the exponential growth kill next turn. I kind of want my opponent to flood the board with creatures in a futile effort to block. We're not blocking, basically, no matter what happens. They do nothing. We untap, draw a Soothsayer Adept. Well, I didn't come here to not do this. Exponential growth, gain a life. We have a 25 trample and vigilance. Go to combat, and opponent scoops. We did it! We got the exponential growth kill. Nice. I think I want the fight spell over the cram session. The life gain is nice and might actually be relevant in this matchup, but I think the fight spell is gonna matter more often. I think I figured out why I like this format so much, actually. This is a keep, by the way. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and Strixhaven is such a fun limited format for me because the Mystical Archive cards being draftable and sort of balanced in the limited format is reminiscent of playing a format like Vintage Cube, where you have these high power experiences in a semi-randomized, mostly singleton, but sometimes hilariously, like, you know, card duplicate format. And it's just really fun. Like, I think that's all there is to it. It reminds me of Vintage Cube, because everything is, like, on the same power level, except there are these occasional spike cards that are, you know, crazy good. Alright, we draw Blue Sun Zenith, play a forest. I can leave up Decisive Denial. I think I'm just going to equip this turn. It's unlikely they have removal this turn. They're probably going to top deck a land and then play Heated Debate, at which point leaving up Decisive Denial may have made more sense, but... Okay, opponent plays Stonebound Mentor. That's good, but it's not game ending. Draw a forest, play a forest, go to combat, attack for 2. Flying, Trample, Vigilance, Death Touch. That's a good old wall of keywords. So in response to removal, we can fight our opponent's creature, then we can untap an Aether Helix, picking the Drake back up. Opponent goes to combat, attacks for 3. This is fine. We'll take 3. Then they play a Tome Shredder. Do I care about Tome Shredder? Not yet. We untap, draw an island, play an island, go to combat, attack for 2, pass the turn. So we are going to have to block something, probably. Opponent plays a Thunderous Orator, goes to combat, they attack. I think I'm going to block here and then fight, because that prevents all the damage. I actually should have done that the other way around and killed the Tome Shredder, because the Tome Shredder has haste. Okay, opponent has Make Your Mark. That's fine. We can kill the token with Aether Helix. So opponent gets a 3/2. We take none this turn. We're going to take a lot next turn, though. We untap and draw an island. The all-important island number 3. Pass the turn. So opponent untaps. They play a Lorehold Pledge Mage, which is a first striker, which Thunderous Orator also gains. Alright, we take 4. It's a little bit of a problem. We'd like to draw one of our big creature spells. There we go. Play the forest. Play Leyline Invocation. Suit it up. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They have to have a pretty powerful removal spell to get rid of the Fractal. And it can't be Expel, because we're not tapping the Fractal pretty much ever. And hey, if we draw Exponential Growth, our opponent dies. They play another Lorehold Pledge Mage. They have enough... They could actually block this down and keep one creature. We draw a Quandrix command. That is no longer true. So go to combat. Attack for a lot. Opponent's just going to take it? Interesting. They go to 6. Play a forest. We're going to play the Needlethorn Drake because it's technically slightly safer. And then pass the turn. I wanted to leave up Blue Sun Zenith Quandrix command this turn, but just a single unsummon might not be enough. Opponent exiles Make Your Mark, makes Tome Shredder a 3/3. They untap, play a land. Opponent plays Blade Historian. That's pretty good. Opponent goes to combat, attacks. So in response to this ability, we are going to bounce the Blade Historian, put 1/1 counters on the Needlethorn Drake, because this stops Thunderous Orator from gaining double strike permanently. And we block here, we kill a Pledge Mage, and then we swing back and our opponent dies. Yeah! Haha! We got him! Hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. You want to hang out with some of the people in Twitch chat, feel free to join the Discord. Links in the description below. And if you feel like contributing directly to this channel's costs for equipment, moto leagues, etc., you can join our Patreon, which is also linked in the description below. So thank you all so much for watching. You're all wonderful human beings, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of May. If you want to support my channel directly and have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all.